There are these moments in history. They're like giant hinges. They just swing open a door to a totally different world. And today, we're diving into one of the biggest of them all, the Battle of Gaugamela. Seriously, this one day completely changed, well, everything.
So picture this, it's 331 BCE, and the entire fate of the world, it's all coming down to this one day, this one battle. It's not just two armies clashing, it's like two possible futures are colliding head-on, and only one is going to walk away.
And right at the center of it all, two guys who basically were their civilizations. This was way more than a land grab. This was a battle for whose legacy would survive.
Okay, so in one corner, you've got Alexander the Great. He's young, he's a tactical genius, and his army, they're battle-hardened pros who would follow him anywhere. And their goal? To conquer the entire known world. Then, in the other corner, you have Darius III, the King of Kings. He's in charge of the massive Persian Empire, this ancient powerhouse with a gigantic army that's all about tradition and sheer numbers.
All right, so the stage is set, but here's the kicker. Alexander isn't just walking into a fight against a huge army. Oh no, he's walking onto a battlefield that Darius hand-picked and prepared just to wipe him off the map.
And this is where you really see the difference in how they thought about warfare. Alexander's got his famous phalanx. Think of it as a human hedgehog, a wall of spears nobody could get through. Plus, he's got his elite companion cavalry, who were like a special forces team on horseback. Darius, he's all about shock and awe. He has these terrifying scythed chariots, with blades on the wheels. And just a massive, overwhelming sea of soldiers. It really is the ultimate showdown, surgical precision versus brute force.
Which brings us to the giant problem facing Alexander, the odds. We're talking something like 4-1, at least. For every single one of his guys, Darius had 4. I mean, just think about that. On paper, this should have been a slaughter. No way he was supposed to win.
So, what do? How do you possibly win a battle that's basically unwinnable? Well, when you can't win by playing their game, you have to invent your own.
And Alexander's answer, wow. It was a plan so clever, so gutsy, that military academies still study it to this day. He knew he couldn't just smash through the Persian army. He was going to have to outsmart them.
See, Darius thought he had it all figured out. He had his troops go out and literally flatten the battlefield. Why? For his scythe chariots. He wanted a perfect open runway for them to build up speed and just tear Alexander's army to shreds. He was playing to his big strength. What he had no idea about, though, was that Alexander was about to use that very strength against him.
Okay, so let's break down this masterpiece of a plan. First, Alexander lines up his army at an angle, a slanted line. It looks weird, almost like he's exposed his right side on purpose. And that's because he has. It's bait. He wants the Persians to charge that side. Second, he knows that as the huge Persian army moves to surround him, their own line is going to have to stretch, and that's going to create a gap. Third, when that gap appears, bam! That's when he'll hit them with his elite cavalry in a wedge formation. And fourth, and this is the genius part, he's not just aiming for soldiers, he's aiming for one man, Darius. This is all about a psychological knockout blow.
So that was the plan. And what happened next? Well, it happened fast. This is where the brilliant theory slammed right into the chaos of battle.
First thing that happens, Darius sends in his superweapon, the scythe chariots. They come thundering across the field. But Alexander was totally ready for this. Instead of a solid wall, his infantry just parts. They open up channels, letting the chariots fly right through into a trap where they get picked off from all sides. Just like that, Darius's biggest threat was completely taken out of the game.
And then he saw it. It was happening exactly like he planned. In all the chaos, a gap opened up in the Persian line, and right through that gap, he could see Darius. This was it. This was the moment, and Alexander didn't wait. He personally led the charge, wheeling his best cavalry around and driving them like a spearhead straight into that gap.
And let me be clear, he wasn't sitting in the back directing traffic. Alexander was right at the front, the tip of the spear. He was leading this all-or-nothing charge aimed at one single target, the king.
Can you even imagine the shock? You're Darius, King of Kings, surrounded by your best guards, and suddenly, out of the dust and chaos, there's Alexander the Great, on his horse, charging straight for you. It was unthinkable, utterly terrifying, and it shattered their morale in a heartbeat.
And faced with that sight, what did Darius do? He panicked.
He turned his chariot around and he ran. He just fled. And when your army sees their king, who they see as practically a god, turn and run, well, the fight is over. The army just collapsed. That wasn't just the end of the battle. That was the death blow for the Persian Empire.
So, as the dust finally settled on the battlefield, the real impact was just beginning. The shockwaves from what happened on this one day were about to ripple out and remake the entire world.
I mean, just look at the shift. It's night and day. Before this battle, you had the Persian Empire, this superpower that had run the show for centuries. People thought it was unstoppable. Then, in a matter of hours, it was basically over. And in its place, Alexander's Macedonian Empire, which brought with it a totally new culture that would shape history for hundreds of years.
And the victory was total. The biggest cities in the world at the time, Babylon, Susa, Persepolis, they didn't fight, they just opened their gates. With Darius out of the picture, Alexander wasn't seen as some foreign invader anymore. He was welcomed as the new Lord of Asia. And this, right here, is the official start of what we call the Hellenistic Age.
And this is really the key takeaway. The reason Gaugamela is so important isn't just because one empire replaced another. It's because it kicked off this incredible melting pot of cultures. You had Greek ideas, Greek art, Greek philosophy spreading all the way to India. And at the same time, ideas from Persia, Egypt, and the East started flowing west. It created this amazing new hybrid civilization that really defined the world for the next 3 centuries.
So, it all leaves you with a really big question, doesn't it? What's more powerful, the crushing weight of a massive empire or the focused vision of a single person? At Gaugamela, you had all the might and power of Persia on one side, and on the other, the brilliant, crazy plan of one man. And on that day, the vision won. It really makes you think, right, about what other impossible things might just be possible, not with more power, but with a different way of looking at the problem.